यो PMPL को सबभन्दा मेन त्यो कुन चाहिँ हो? मेन फर्स्ट के अरे मेन चाहिँ खेलाउने कुन चाहिँ हो?
पाउँछ हाई भोल्टेज DC को टिमले उनीहरूले त्यो युटिलाइज गर्नेछन्। थोरै मिल्टा अनि फार्मको एरिया अलि बढी क्लस्टर रहन्छ यो लबीमा भनेर हामी भन्ने गर्थ्यौँ। त्यो यहाँ एकपटक फेरि पनि भएको छ भने ओके एगनेक्स आई8 को टिम अहिलेको लागि खास इन्ट्रेस्ट देखिएन। फाइटमा उनीहरू अगाडि बढ्न खोज्दैछन्। 7 ले फेरि पायर लिइसक्यो। आइएचसी मिल्टा पावरतर्फ रहेको छ। अर्को एउटा त्यही एरियामा लड्नका लागि टिम आयो भने DRS को टिम रहेको छ मिल्टामा। एनबी ओके यो पटक एनबी सेल्टर अनि म्यान्सनको एरियाको स्प्लिट लिन खोजिरहेको छ। उनीहरूको लागि पनि अलिकति नन एरिया नै रह्यो। मल्टिपल टाइम त्यहाँ गएको पनि देखिरहेका हुन्छौँ। म्यापटेक स्लिपअपकामा रहेको छ भने क्युआरको लागि त पुरै यासनायदेखि म्यान्सनसम्मको उनीहरूको ठाउँ रहेको छ। त्यो पुरै माथिल्लो एरिया यानि कि स्टालबर कामेस्कीतर्फ अनि सेभर्नीमा T2K लाई देखिरहेका छौँ। R3G पनि मुभ गरिरहेको छ। मोस्ट प्रोबेबली उनीहरू जानेछ जर्जो पुलको नर्दर्न सिटीसम्म।
ओके ओभरअलमा टिम्सहरूको मुभमेन्ट हामी हेरिरहेको छौँ। केही पनि आउट अफ द ब्लू यहाँ रहेको छैन। इभन आई8 कस्तो एडजस्ट गरेर खेलिरहेको
भन्दै थियो। अहिले नि गइहाल्यो त
पाण्डे भाइ
कहाँ उड्या चाहिँ भन्दै
क्लान रिक्वायरमेन्ट नट मिट भन्छ त।
बल्ल थाहा बोल पब्जीबाट खुल्नुपर्ने छ PMPL यस कोही कैसे साउन्ड हटाइदिनु। 980126
Yeah, they're all serious about the finals. They realize that this is where they have to secure as many points as possible.
I mean, you're right on point fixes. I mean, it's been surprising the first two games because I've noticed a lot of teams just go for individual picks rather than go for complete 4v4s in those team fights, and I think that did not used to happen the last time I was here. And the DBS situation takes me back all the way to the PMPL South Asia Season 2 and 3 when the weapon was just introduced in the game and it was quite heavily being used, especially on the maps of Sanhok. Yeah. And I think this new way of going for those, or in fact forcing those duels wherein you have a shotgun, the other guy knows you're coming towards him with an automatic shotgun. He just has two options. He is either going to take the fight, try and fight it out with you, survive the duel, or be eliminated, or he can just sit there waiting for you to run towards him, shooting him in the face, and then get eliminated. And I mean, forcing your opponent to step out in the open, especially when you have your teammates backing you up, I think that can definitely put these teams into advantage. But I think because of that, those overcommitments and sort of that amount of importance being given to just committing towards this fight and securing those finishes, it is going to be a little bit of a challenge for these teams to just to make sure that they survive till the end game stages. I mean, for the last two matches, we have had the same team, 4MV, step up brilliantly. And they always do that towards extremely late in the game.
And this is not something that even the viewers will, it's kind of very difficult for everyone to digest at this point, because for Miracle Vibes, if you're talking about a complete turnover, they've done that. Because I remember the For Miracle Vibes, they used to be one of the most aggressive teams, right? Every single game, you look at them, they're going for like 14 or 15 eliminations. 9 or 10 is the bare minimum for them. That's the standard that they've set. But now you're seeing them, close those games with 8 to 10 eliminations. And the best part is that they are also getting the chicken dinner, which kind of forces you to think, because if they kind of get a chicken in this one, if that's going to be a hat trick, this kind of pushes us to wonder if they have really cracked the code. Because lately they've been scrimming a lot against the South Asian teams. And what was the change with the SA and the SAC? That was the introduction of the Pakistanis as well. And seeing a lot of Pakistanis fall already in the group stages now, coming into this one, you just have a handful of them remaining. Not a lot of them, performing to their utmost potential. That is where, you feel like, yes, this is a tournament that for Miracle Vibes, they're going to be the hot favorites.
They're going to be the favorites for now, but let's see, game is going to transition into the mid-game stages now. The zone number 1 is going to close in about 40 seconds. Aegon I8. Game number 1 was quite nice for them. Match number 2, not really theirs. We do have Blade on our screens right now, quite close to the players of High Voltage. The vehicles being moved around. We'll give the information to the opposition as to where Uzum is going to go.
Right.
Just the general direction, though. I think Aegon I8, they're going to completely avoid any contact with anyone up until the mid-game. Up until Zone 4, Zone 5.
Now, this is where I kind of did say, right? It's kind of a standard circle. Everybody is aware of it. So now you're not going to see those early fights breaking out. And considering the fact that these are the finals, then, teams are going to be a little extra too careful. And a few of them have already had quite a rough start. I think this is one of those games where the other big dogs, the likes of IHC, the likes of Starwood, they come in because, we've sort of been missing IHC. They've been making a lot of changes in their rosters, and seems like they're kind of still missing that extra jigsaw in the puzzle, something that, completes them. Because for Miracle Vibes, now again, coming back to them, this is one of those teams where every single player can hold off on his own backs, right? You leave, let's say you leave Doc on one side, East on the other. Everybody is capable of getting those individual frags, and the positioning is also so nice. The spread is really nice. Now, along with for Miracle Vibes, now this is one of those teams that showed maximum potential during the SA finals, right? I was quite impressed with NB Esports, especially their star player Sek. For a moment I felt this guy was absolutely cracked. But then again, we've sort of been missing out on that sort of consistency that you're supposed to, expect from these young lads. Now, once they kind of figure that one out, once they get into their groove, I'm pretty sure NB Esports, Johnny, this is also one of those teams to be feared.
Yeah, definitely they are one of those teams to be feared, as you said. But for now, I think fear is going to be instilled into the players of Quantum Rage, especially Helsi, as he saw the players of T2K running towards him. He's going to run towards Sparky. They're going to try their level best to lob as much utility towards the players of T2K to deter this push. Jane, he's holding the flank, sees Goku moving towards his right, jumps inside the wall. The compound is going to be contested. This squad house is what these teams are going to fight for. And this fight for now is in the favor of T2K, as it's only Jane and Rig who are going for the push. And by the time Sandesh reaches there, his players they will have fallen. Rig does not have HP. He has an Uzi in his hands, but he does not have enough HP to actually go for the peak. The moment he sees Helsi, finds the right timing though. Helsi looking in the opposite direction makes a massive mistake, and he's gonna have to pay for it with his life. Things turn around quite nicely for Train to Kill, as one after the other blunders are being made by the players of Quantum Rage, and well, they have all of a sudden lost everything in this game. It's just their last player, Goku, who's left alive.
Oh my goodness, that's a disaster. To be honest, at this point, Quantum Rage, they were looking so confused. You could see that it was so haphazard for them. And for a moment, I felt like they could really come back into this. But letting Rig get away with murder, that wasn't acceptable. As Sandesh just goes in, gets the final nail in the coffin. And down go Quantum Rage, buried. But at this point, this is a very nice push coming in from T2K. They realized they need this position. And, objectively, they were thinking this is right. And for now, I mean, maybe they must be second guessing upon it. It's still not inside the circle. They will have to move in, and considering the fact that they've already lost out on Jane, but that's still understandable, right? They've already secured 4 finishes to their name at the cost of just 1 player. And considering how these new point structure has been favoring these teams who are really going elimination heavy, I think this is a good news for T2K, and I must say a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, definitely quite promising, as you mentioned, after that, after the way they dealt with that fight. But let's see, I want to see how far they can go in this particular matchup. And B on the other side, struggling in their own rights against the players of HighVoltage. What? Assassin, brilliant nade, takes 2 down and finds the 3rd as well. The man.
The recent run of form that they've been having now. Look at the squad, look at the roster. You're talking about the OGs out there, and they haven't really been delivering the way they kind of look strong, right? And getting into fights like this, taking down some big Mongolian teams is gonna instill that kind of a missing confidence. And lately, even in the first game of Erangel, I found HighVoltage DC looking quite good, right? Especially the way they were forcing out fights, they were going in for the push. I think that was one fight against Aegon I8 where they were absolutely phenomenal. And this goes on to show that as a team, how much they've been putting in the work. But Assassin, he's a cut apart, right? In this entire fight, he just single-handedly, of course, he did have some support from his teammates, but those 4 eliminations, they go to his name. And goes on to show that Assassin still has a lot of fuel left in his tank.
Yeah, I mean, pulled off a 1v4, was sitting there just laughing in his chair and made it look like no big deal. Oh, the man is a legend for a reason, and I think that should give a good amount of confidence boost to the players of HighVoltage over there. Problem is that T2K now have their eyes set on those compounds. T2K also in quite a decent position in the zone 4 now, but if the shift is not going to be in their position, then they could have been in trouble. But lucky for them, the zone is still on top of them.
Looking at this particular circle, I kind of really fancy Regicide's chances as well. Now, Regicide is one of those teams not a lot of people talk about, but TUF, like you said, those final few days in the qualification stages of the SSC were quite good for TUF, especially the final one. Now, with IHC just kind of hovering around them, you can feel that the urge of getting inside the circle. Not a lot of spaces are open. There's just that one compound that's still up for grabs. Now the big question is, do IHC have enough information? But look at Starward. They decide to breach in through HighVoltage DC as Aegon I8, they come barging in at the same time. 3 squads just located around the apartments area. Now this is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, it is going to be a bloodbath indeed, and it has all begun with Blade from Aegon I8 touching the dirt with his knees. Assassin, he's going to have to be extremely careful as Praveen has split up from his team. Cloud is still there with Assassin. Stalwart in one building, T2K. Rig was knocked out, but he's going to get a revive from his team. There's, these 3 teams are going to be joined, I believe, by the 4th in the distance. We do have one more team from the school compound keeping an eye on this entire situation. But All right, so the only thing that's going to stop this entire fight is the fact that this is quite a nice little safe haven for all of them at this point inside the zone. And until the next shift actually abandons this school and school apartment position, all of them can be safe. But Stalwart, vision changes focus, and now their crosses are positioned towards the players of IHC. One knock has been secured. Alex is behind the building. He is hiding. Demo is there, but Stalwart, I think, all they can do is just make sure IHC don't move anywhere anymore. They have good cover. There's a lot of distance between the two. IHC should be comfortable.
Yeah, I think for Stalwart this time around, I think they have to be, pretty cautious about every single movement of theirs, because now they just can't be tunnel vision, right? They just can't keep on pressing IHC, because that sort of opens them up to, shots maybe from T2K or maybe from high voltage DC. Might as well, Aegon I8 also chime in. But seems like Stalwart are all over the place. And this is one of those players, Nirzed, you really need to watch out for this. If Stalwart are your current SA champions, right? Nirzed has a very pivotal role to play in that. Now, 7th Element, one of those teams coming in from Pakistan. It's their first PMPL. They are having a dream run over here, and they've been playing really well, made it to the finals. But now, this is where we're seeing them finally getting tested. And this is where we're seeing, those doubts creeping up in their mind. Till the point, look at them just restricted to that one little shack. And, just being hammered down, not just by high voltage DC. You see Stalwart also taking shots at them. You also see that, IHC, they're also capitalizing on that situation. I do not see a world where they walk out of there alive.
Well, yeah. This is going to be quite difficult for them to pull this miracle off. Talking about miracles, look at Miracle vibes. Controlling that southwestern edge of theirs quite beautifully and playing along the edge of the zones. Could potentially go for a few picks on the place of Illuminate Crew right next to them, but I think priority number one is going to be given to just getting access to the circle, finding another edge to hold on to. Fight between the 4 teams in school apartment coming at a standstill, as all 4 of them are trying to deal with the outsiders approaching their spot. Seems like Stalwart, they're getting a little bit restless. Wanting to find those points a bit earlier on in the game.
For a team like Stalwart, to be honest, at this point, I think the way they are, they should be, kind of just looking out for a few freebies here and there. Because there will be a moment when the circle takes that next shift and somebody is not going to be inside the zone anymore. And considering the position that they've held onto, I think that's the second best spot. Unless and until somebody just decides to go in for a dead push like the UF are doing right now, I don't see them, losing any sort of ground over there, as they were completely confused. And just in the blink of an eye, they are outside of the server as DRS trying to, just get in when the iron is hot, as Rig cooks up that grenade, will lob it into perfection and will not just find 1 or maybe 2 or maybe he's gotten 3, as Rules the final player surviving, and he might meet the same fate. Still does have a lot of fight going on, but Rig, what was that? What's going on with grenades and these Nepali teams, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, extremely precise with their utility, and that was a nade 1v4, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We hardly have ever seen that. I mean, I've been here for almost like 4 years now, and that's the first one I've seen. It was impressive from Rick, but this has to be very confusing for the 2 teams that have just been wiped out. Fixes. Imagine a second ago you were just trying to approach the building thinking, oh, it's just going to be a normal easy 4v4, we're going to win that fight. And the worst was for TUF. They ran in through 4 teams, and every time they just lost bodies before they made it to their final destination. They were just finished off. But now T2K against Stalwart, action knocked out, but Nirzed and IC are there. Revive is going to be quite easy for them to secure on action, and he's going to be back on his feet. But now they go for the elimination on the final lad that is holding their building. Rig in a world of trouble. The 2 players are running towards him at a very high pace. He does dish out some damage. Oh, almost secures a knock as well. But now T2K, they're going to be sent back to the lobby by the hands of Stalwart, as Stalwart have finally secured 3 elimination points.
No, this is much better. Much better from Star Wars
Yes.
Esports. They're just not gonna, go unhinged right now. They're, completely just making the moves when it's absolutely necessary. No one wanted movements over there. Looking for that next circle shift. That sort of decides the flow of this game. So far, it's about these teams desperately tying in as Magnus and Leo Esports, they go up against each other. Trades coming in, left, right, and center. High Dami having a little bit of that high ground advantage. He needs to capitalize on that. Did spot out Zayn, but that little smoke is kind of keeping him alive for now. As Illuminate crew, they decide to chime in into this fight, as now it is a trifecta of death and destruction, as Sky and Wolfis will be mopping the floor upstairs, as now they set their eyes on just the lonesome survivor of Magnus. That is going to be Zen, who is hiding inside that little hut. But how long can he do that? Once the smoke dissipates, I'm pretty sure Illuminate will want to make that move, and I believe Noah has a rough idea of where Zen is positioned.
Yeah, I think they do. Woofus, look at him. He's going to go for the flank. Oh, big mistake. He was going to go lob a Molotov to try and flush Zen out, but Woofus is going to be knocked out. And that is the little bit of a breathing space for Zen. It's again a 1v2. Viper, he needs to be patient. Don't go for the push. Wait for your teammates, lad. But no, Zen gets a little too over-eager. Tries to run in the smoke. Go for the fight. Secures the second knock. Has lost a lot of HP. Viper is dropped down to around 50 HP. Zen is around 30. But the last shot from Viper as he went around the corner does connect on Zen. And now Zen is not going to be in this game anymore. He's going to be in a state of Zen. As Magnus, they have been eliminated from the game. Illuminate crew just managing to hold their bearings in that clutch moment, especially Viper pulling this off. Is just going to make sure that the team is going to be in this matchup till the late stages. 6 eliminations secured by the lineup, so off to a pretty decent start.
And look between all of this for Medical Vibes right at the epicenter. I would not call it the best spot right now because you kind of are subjected to shots from multiple directions. But I think for Medical Vibes, they're playing it very carefully. They realize that this is not the point where we start forcing fights. Rather, I think this is a perfect time where we kind of defend our territory. Now, history has been a testament of the fact that the circle usually goes away from those cities, right? Now, we're going to expect the zone go out of apartments, maybe somewhere where maybe Mabitex are situated, because Mabitex have a huge control of that northeastern territory. And I think Starward, they're aware of the same. Now, the moment I think it goes towards maybe Mabitex or IHC could also potentially go towards 7th Element, who, by the way, Johnny, are still alive and breathing.
See, you almost were done with your sentence, and I think Illuminate crew had some other plans, but no, 7th Element, in a 7th Element of their own, do manage to secure the finish on the remaining players of Illuminate crew.